Welcome to my channel. Today you will learn how to move from this to this. First step is to shape the eyebrow. I use a razor blade, and the next step is to clean the face. I'm using a baby wipe. Clean every part of the face, the lips. Then I'm using a moisturizer to moisturize the face. Next step is primer, and the work of this primer I'm using here is to take oil away from her pores to give it a solid base for the foundation, to just prime her face. Then the next thing is that I will seal it up with a spray. Then now I'm applying the foundation with a brush. I mixed two colors, the one I showed in this video and then L'Oreal, a dark one. I sprayed it with that same Zikel spray and I blended it. It was too dark, so I added a little light foundation again and blended it again. Yeah, I'm using a dark foundation as concealer for a contour. It should be 2 shades darker than a complexion. Now I'm going in with my blush from TM Essentials, a pink one and a dark brown one, to be put on the same place where a contour was put. I sprayed the cream blush first before applying it. So yeah, I'm just applying it. Then the next thing is to highlight. I'm using Pro Conceal, L.A Girl. So I'm going to highlight under her eyes, her chin, the top of her mouth, the bridge of her nose, and her forehead. Just as you can see here, just little, not too much. Then I begin to blend it out. It's like spreading it. You are dabbing it and you are spreading it. Not all over the place, but just as you can see me do. Yeah. So you do that for every part that was highlighted. Blend it out. Make sure the edges are not looking so sharp. You blend it out properly. So I'm blending the forehead and the bridge of her nose lastly. So the next thing is to contour our nose. This is optional. Some people do not use wet products to draw their contour. They just use a powder, a dark powder, a contour powder, and that's all. But in this particular makeup, I'm using a wet method. And the reason is I just want to show you how it is done. Most times people don't do this cream contour anymore for the nose. They just use a powder, and that is also okay. It depends on what you want and how highlighted you want the nose to look. So the next thing is to set every highlighted part with setting powder. You just use the powder lightly, not heavily, to set it. Just every part that the highlight is, you just set it with this setting powder. Yeah, I'm making the nose a bit pointed by putting that concealer there again to highlight it. Then the next thing is to powder the rest of the face that was not highlighted. And I'm using La Vida powder set. Just look for the shade that matches the person's color, or you combine 2 colors that could give you the person's complexion. The next thing I'm doing now is to bake the highlighted areas. I set it before, now I'm baking. This baking is optional. If you want it to be very, very prominent, you'd bake it. But if you just want it to be a little highlighted, that setting we did the other time is okay. But some people like to go all the way. So this is how to bake. You add more powder than when you are setting. So we are doing it for every highlighted area. Now the next step is to draw the brow, the eyebrow. So our eyebrow is a straight shape. So, and I'm just going to trace it out. So I'll trace the under part first, then the lower part. After that, I begin to fill it in. The tail of the brow is very dark. The middle is slightly shaded, and the front is very light. Just trace out the hairs you find there. Then I'm using this spoolie brush. It is actually Beauty Line by DD Pencil, but the tip has a spoolie brush. I'm using it to make the front of the eyebrow so natural. So going to the other eye, we do the same thing. Trace out the under parts and trace out the upper parts. Then I begin to shade it just like I did the other one, shading the tail to be very dark, the middle to be slightly deep, and then the front will be very light, just light. You pick it. I'm extending it because it's short, so you begin to make it very light, and then you also use the spoolie brush to brush it out so that it can look very natural as possible. Yeah, I'm doing a little adjustment to the eyebrow. The next step is to highlight your eyebrow. I'm using the Pro Conceal I use in highlighting the face. So I would use it for the parts, for the arc. And then for the remaining part of the eyebrow, I will use a dark foundation. One of the foundations I use for our face, the dark one, will be used for the tail, the end of the tail, and for the beginning. This is to make the arc area very, very prominent. Then I'm blending it out. I'm blending both the dark and the light into each other. So we'll do the same for this other eyebrow. The concealer, the light one in the arc area, the dark one towards the tail, and the dark one in the front. Then you also move on to blend it out. I blend the middle part first so that the black will not get. And the next thing is to use a powder from the palette to touch those highlighted part of the brows so that it will not be shiny. Then I move to the eyeshadow. I'm using a dark powder from that palette to be the base of the eyeshadow. Then the next thing is that I'm using the concealer as the eyeshadow primer so that it will be prominent. Whatever eyeshadow I put on that part where there's concealer, it will be prominent. So our lights went off here. I actually did not want to release this part, but I was like, okay, no problem. Let me just keep recording, even though there's no light. So I'm adding a dark eyeshadow to the top of our eyelid. To the highlighted areas, I'm dusting it off. So yeah, we have sprayed it with that Zikel spray. I'm trying to work on her tear because she shed a tear when I was doing the makeup. I've forgotten what parts I was. So after spraying, I'm trying to use the beauty blender to rub off the stroke of the tear. Then after that, I had to bake her face again. this part is necessary because she shed a tear. So if you have a bride that is crying, this is how to go about it. You allow it to dry, the tear to dry, you clean it off with your beauty blender, then you bake again. So you can see that the line of that tear is kind of going away little by little. So that's the essence of this second baking. It is not essential, it is not necessary if you don't have this kind of situation. So by this time, the tear is properly covered with the baking I did. Then I'm drawing my eyeliner. Funny enough, I draw my eyeliner from the outer part first, unlike the normal drawing it from within. I do not know why. You find a style that fits or works for you. Then the next thing is to highlight under the contour with the same setting powder we've been using. Just draw out that line under the contour. Then we powder the whole face with a color that fits our complexion. We powder the whole face everywhere. We powder the whole place with a powder that matches our complexion. And I'm using another brush for this inner part so that it can get to everywhere. That other brush is too big to enter those corners. So I'm still using powder to wipe out all this yellow effect of the setting powder. Then we move to the lips. I took a purple shade from the Blossom palette, but I don't know what I want to do. I just started. I don't know the color combination to do. At this point, I was not even sure if I was making sense because the eye is silver or is it gray. But I just said, let me trust my artistic instinct, and I moved on with it. Lined the lips, the lower lip. Lining the lower lip right now. Then, after doing that, I went with a pink. It looks like pink and it also looks nude inside. Then I blend the bridge between the one I lined with and then the inner lipstick. So I just blend it out so that you don't know the difference between the two, so that everything will just blend into each other. So now I'm going with a white lip stain in the middle and blend it into it to make it lighter. By this time, yeah, I think it started feeling beautiful to me. I'm applying a powder blush to her cheeks. And after that, I sprayed it again with my Zikel spray, sprayed the whole face. Then I used that Candid Glow for her cheeks. I'm sorry I did not cover that part. Then I'm applying a lip gloss to it. So yeah, I began to see that the lips is giving. It's making sense now to me. So we've come to the end of it all. Beautiful baby is now more beautiful. So she's doing all the shakara because she knows she's a fine girl that just became more beautiful. Thank you for watching to the end. Thank you. Do like, share, subscribe to this channel for more detailed tutorials. Thank you once again.
Roja over. I don't even tell you govern like she do me karashika. Make I no feel liver. Me way be John Cena. I say I swear you mine. Die. Baby girl, now you be God design. But like, as your face they show, now show your